Hi Flosstube friends, this is Liliana. I'm working on my Victorian skaters today, and this is a photo out of the book that I'm using. I'm going to be stitching the back stitch and the French knot. Now I know a lot of stitchers don't like the French knot, but I happen to like it, so I'm going to go ahead and add them. And there's not much, there's just a few on the outer sides of her legs. So there's some here. And a few on this side as well. Okay, I'm going to start with back stitching at the top of the leg, bottom of her dress, until I get to the first French knot. I'll insert a photo here in the corner so that you can follow along, so you can refer to it to see where I'm putting the French knots. So when I first started working the French knot, it was difficult for me to begin with, and I didn't like it at first. It definitely took a lot of practicing for me and a lot of watching YouTube videos on how to do it, and just kept practicing, and now I don't mind it at all. It's okay. I don't love it, but I don't hate it anymore like I did when I first started making them. And it's definitely easier to make French knots when you're also back stitching. So in this design, the French knot is alongside the back stitching. So I'm going to put one here. I'm going to wrap the needle twice, insert it in the location where the French knot needs to be. So it's going to make a French knot and back stitch at the same time. I'm going to hold the needle. I'm going to pull on that bottom thread there to make sure it's snug around the needle and pull it down. Sometimes keeping my finger over the knot while I'm pulling the thread helps a little bit, just to shape it. And then the next one will be here. Come up there and wrap it again twice, insert it where I need it to go. Hold on to that thread there at the bottom to keep it snug around the needle. While I'm pulling the needle through, I'm holding on to that thread with my thumb. And there's my second one. So it does become easier. The more you practice, the easier it'll get. It may never become your favorite thing to do, but you might enjoy it a little more at some point. It won't bother you as much to do it. And there's designs out there that have French knots that really makes the designs just a lot prettier, a lot nicer with the French knots than if it was just a back stitch or a regular cross stitch. I mean, you don't have to use French knots when it calls out for them, depending on the design, depending on where it is. I think most of the time you could get away with just using a regular cross stitch. And some people use beads, embellishments, instead of French knots. That's another thing you can do. As for back stitching, I like to alternate. So I'll begin a project. If there's any back stitching that needs to be done, I will do a little bit of back stitching, and then I'll go back to the cross stitching or half stitch or whatever stitches that I'm working on. And then let's see, sorry, I have to concentrate here, make sure I'm coming up the right hole. Make my next French knot. So again, I hang on to that bottom thread that's wrapped around the needle, and I hold it with my thumb. Keep it nice and tight around that needle, and then I pull it through. Make sure that the rest of the thread is not going to get tangled. And keeping my finger right there helps. Just straighten out the thread here. Okay. There we go. And you know, not all the French knots are going to look exactly the same. Some are going to be a tiny bit smaller, some are going to be a little bit larger. No, I'm not going to let that bother me. It's not a big deal to me if some are larger and some are smaller. As I was saying earlier about the back stitching, I do like to do it, especially if it's outlining the design. I like to outline like I'm doing here. I'm outlining her pants. When it comes to back stitching inside the design, then that can be a little bit harder. So that's why I like to do it as I go along, as I'm working section by section, rather than leaving it at the end where all my stitches are completed, the whole design is completed, and then I have to go back and find, you know, the location of every back stitch. That can be a nightmare, especially depending on how large your project is. And the smaller projects, I don't mind to do the back stitching later. That's fine. They're small and easier. But there's some large projects out there that it would be crazy. It would drive me crazy if I left it to the end. It would just be too much. So I think it's coming out pretty nice. I'm happy. I'm happy with my French knots. and happy with the way the back stitching is turning out. It's really starting to take shape. Of course, that's what back stitching does. It just makes the image look better, stand out more. Are any of you right now working on back stitching? If so, let me know in the comments section what you're working on. Or if you guys are working on French knots. Hopefully this helped a little. I know watching YouTube videos on how to do French knots helped me quite a bit. And I saw many of them, believe me. Quite a few. But like I said before, the more you practice, the better you'll get, really. Like with anything else. Just the more you practice, the better you will get. So I encourage you guys to watch more how-to videos on French knotting. I'm going to continue back stitching till I get up to her dress, and then I think that will be it. I want to thank you guys for checking in on my video. I appreciate all the views, all the likes, all the comments, and definitely all the subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing. I did make it to 500 subscribers. Yay! So hopefully by this time next year I will maybe perhaps hit 1,000. Never know. But want to take the time to say thank you to you all, and happy stitching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.